All right, folks, welcome back to our continuing quest to make our toy car. We are now on part 3. If you haven't gotten to this point and don't have all the stuff that we did in part 2, make sure you go back and redo that because it has to be done before we move on. Before we do anything, I need us to do some housekeeping stuff here. And you are going to expand make sure you're in your toy car project. I show more than you do. You probably only have one thing in there. I've already done some stuff in here. You should take your car, okay, which I just renamed it to be clear. Okay, and make sure you're looking at it and take that guy and we're going to right click, okay, and we're going to copy it. Now, it's going to ask you, where do you want to copy it? You want to go to the same place that you are and we want to make a copy. Okay, now notice it's going to show up and it's going to say the same thing as it did before. It's going to call it toy car body, right? They look exactly the same. Okay, but the one that you just made a duplicate of, we're going to right click and rename that and call it toy car body and add 3D print to that. Okay. All right. Now, let's make sure that we're in the right thing. So close the one that you're in. We can save it if you want. Okay. Make sure that we're there. And then open, double click on the one that says 3D print on it. Double click. Come on, open for me. Mine's taking a minute. And make sure that up here in the tab, it says 3D print because we're going to mess that one up and do different things to it. And then we're going to come back to the other one later to do some different things on. So make sure you're working on the one called 3D print. All right, before we start, there's a couple modifications that I need you to make because I kind of realized later that the axle holes were a little bit too small to fit the axles for the wheels. So we're going to go ahead and fix that. And what I need you to do is with your car open, we're going to go back, kind of hover over your timeline until you find the extrusion where we made that first hole. There it is. Okay. Now, what I want to do is edit the sketch where that circle was made. So we're going to go find the sketch that came just before that hole. See how it shows up when I hover over it? And you're going to double click on that sketch to edit it. Now, right now it says 0.05. We zoom in a little bit. What we're going to do is we're going to double click on that 0.05 and make that 0.065. 0.065. Enter. Notice how it got popped open, got a little bit bigger. Finish sketch. And the hole just got a little bit bigger because I modified things. Okay, now we're going to go to the other one that we made, which was a hole. So again, hover around until you find the hole. Once we are at that point, we're going to double click on that. And again, we're going to change this diameter from 0.05 to 0.065. Okay, it's going to 3D print a little bit better that way. Now, we need to do a little bit of checking to see if things are right before we move on. So first of all, you should have a flat surface along the bottom that was that original 2.75 line that we made. There shouldn't be anything protruding below it. It shouldn't be wavy or anything weird. I noticed some students tried to draw along the bottom of the car with a spline line, which is what we weren't supposed to do. So if you don't have a flat surface with nothing protruding below that surface, then you need to see me and we need to talk about fixing it. So that's one part that needs to be true. Another thing that needs to be true is that the center point of these axis needs to be 1.1 inches from the bottom. So here's how we're going to check that. We're going to go up to construct and we're going to make an axis through a cylinder. We're going to do this twice. So construct axis through a cylinder and hover over that cylinder and you should see a blue line show up. Okay, then we're going to click OK, and we're going to do that one more time. Construct, axis through a cylinder, click on that cylinder. Okay, all right. Now we're going to do some measuring. Move myself out of the way here, make sure I'm not in a command. Actually, I'm thinking a different thing that has the measure tool down there. But okay, we're going to go to inspect, click on that measuring tape thing, and we're going to click on the line, make sure the line highlights, and this face in the middle of the face, okay? And you should see somewhere that that distance is 0.1 inches, okay? And then we're going to do it again. Hit escape a couple times, inspect. We're going to go from this blue line to this middle of this flat face. And again, it should be 0.1. If that is not true, see me, because that's got to be that way. Okay, once we have ensured that those distances are 0.1, we can go ahead and delete these two axes because we don't need them. And I like to keep things out of the timeline I'm not using. Okay. All right, now we're going to get this thing ready for 3D printing. Now, one of the things we're going to do is we're going to split this through these holes and then screw the bottom part back on. But I have to get the holes ready to go first. Start by making a sketch on this bottom surface. So we're going to sketch on this bottom surface. Now we're going to draw a line between the outside corners of the wheel wells. So from that little corner of that wheel well to this corner of the wheel well, and the same in either the front or the back. Okay. And it's the outsides. All right, now we're going to place I'm going to hit escape to get out of that command. Let's create a point. We're going to create a point, and we're going to hover over that line until that little triangle shows up that shows I'm right in the midpoint. Click. It should be a black dot. If it's blue, we didn't get to the right spot, and it should show that little triangle. Again, hover around till you see that part. Okay, we've got two little dots, and once we've got that, we're going to finish sketch. Okay. Now, follow this process because this might not work for you the way we're doing it. And what will have to happen is you'll have to redo this with the lines on the inside if it doesn't work instead of the outside, but it's the same process. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and make holes on those points by clicking the hole command. Okay, now we're going to click those 2 points. Don't worry that it looks crazy like this. Okay, we're going to click those 2 points. Yours might be totally different looking. They might look really weird. Don't worry, we're going to fix this. Okay, so while this window is open, the whole window, we're going to go ahead and click on this hole type we're going to put in the middle with the counter bore. Okay, that's it's got a little recess for the head of a screw to sit in. We're going to keep the hole type simple over here on the left. We're going to keep the drill point the way it is. Now, I'm going to work from bottom to top here for making the right sizes. So the first one is the diameter of the hole. So you're going to click and highlight that bottom one and change it to 0.12. Okay, see that hole get smaller? It's all going to get better. Next is going to be this angle of the cut for the drill bit, which is going to be 100. Again, I highlighted it, changed it. But the height of this counter bore, the next thing, is 0.05. Now, it happens to be that way, but if it's not, 0.05. I accidentally hit enter. Sometimes that happens. Whoops, that's not what I meant to do. So I'm going to go back to this hole, double click it. I'm editing it again. Whoops, didn't mean to hit enter. Sometimes that happens. Now, the width of the entire counter bore is going to be 0.25. Okay, notice things are starting to look a little bit better. And then the depth is going to be 0.3. All right, now, if your counter bore thing is off the end of your car, then what you're going to have to do is go back, and instead of drawing the line from here to here, draw it from there to there. So you're going to have to kind of undo some steps and go from here to here or here to here. to bring it inside. I'd prefer it to be out here, but it might cause you problems. And if it does, you can just fix it. Same thing if you find that in the preview, if this is going through the top, let me show you what I'm talking about. I'm going to make this like 0.5, right? So you can see it going through the surface. If you see that, or even just a little point, okay, let me change that. I'm going to try and make it so what you might see, right? See how you can see a little bit of that hole coming through? Then again, you might have to put your lines and your points on the insides of the wheel well instead of the outside of the wheel well. So do what works for you. And once that works, we're going to click OK. All right. Now, we've got those holes. Next is we are going to split this thing into two pieces. So here's how to do that. Remember that we checked to make sure that the center of this hole was exactly 0.1 away from this surface. So we're going to come to construct, and we're going to choose this first thing that says offset plane. We're going to click on this flat surface down here right in the middle of it. Now notice it wants me to pull downward, but if I go upward, see how I'm going in a negative direction? So you're going to change that to negative 0.1. Enter. And that plane now should go right through the middle of those holes because we checked it before to make sure that that was true. All right. Now we're actually going to cut this into two pieces. So watch the way this happens. Up here under modify, or it might be up here already there, is a split body command. So you're going to click on split body. Okay. It asks me what body I want to split. Remember, blue means choose something. So I can click on this body. You should only have one existing body. If I expand bodies, it's just one thing. If you have more than one, see me because you have problems. Okay, so we click on that one body. Notice it says one selected now. My splitting tool, I'm going to click that to make it blue, and I'm going to select that plane that I just made. Okay, it'll give you a little pink preview button to say, okay, what are you doing? And we're going to click OK. All right. Now what we did is we just split this into two bodies. So if I expand bodies, notice there is body 1 and there is body 2. If you turn it off, you can see, oh, there's the first one off. There's the bottom one off. Okay. All right. Now, what I want to do is I want to take that second body I made and be able to move it around. So I'm going to make that into a component. So come over, expand bodies, go to body 2, which is the thing on the bottom, right click on it, and we are going to create components from bodies. Click on that. Now notice what happened is it shows this thing called component 2 down here. Okay, so we have component 1 and component 2. That's good. That's what we want. Now I can actually take this thing and move it around, okay, the bottom. So that's good. All right. So now what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and pull that around a little bit, okay, and I want to flip it over so that we can print both of these things from a base. So here's how to do this. We're going to go here to component 2, right click and hit move or copy. And what I want to do is I'm going to move my mouse around so I can see what I'm doing. I want to flip that over lengthwise around this way 180 degrees. Okay. Make sure you click the right one. If it didn't work out, just undo it and try it again. But we got to still have the length be the length of the car. But now those counter bores are facing up. Okay. And now I'm going to scoot it out just a little bit out here. All right. Once you've got it kind of that the way this looks, click OK. Good. And I'm also going to turn off that plane I don't need anymore. So I'm going to expand construction and turn off that last plane. All right. Now I want a 3D print starting from this bottom here and put those together. So we haven't talked about assemblies, but it's not going to be hard. You're going to go up to assemble. And what you're going to do is make a joint. Just follow with me, assemble, joint. There's a window that pops up. Okay, see how there's two tabs that say position and motion? Click on motion and change your type. It probably says rigid. Change it to planar. Okay. And then go back to position, click on position again, and we're going to click in two faces. Now watch carefully what I'm going to click on. We're going to hover around until, maybe I need to move this a little bit so I can see. I'm going to click right in the middle of this face. See how it sort of snaps to it? And there's a little blue line that's sticking straight down from this. Okay, we're going to click once right there. Notice that it highlights the other piece now that I can put together. And we're going to do that too with the same, that blue line's going the same direction. Click, okay? Now, I don't want it exactly the way it is yet, so don't click OK, but I do want to grab one of these arrows and just pull it out a little bit. Now, right now, it put those things together, but remember I wanted these up, so I'm going to flip it, okay? So again, I flipped it from where it ended up because I want both of these things on the same plane. These are coplanar now, they're flat, and I want my counter bores pointed up. If you click on either left or front or whatever, you should see that these surfaces are flat to each other. And click, actually, before you click OK, grab this and you're going to move it fairly close. So your distance ought to be like, you know, like 1.25. In fact, let's go ahead and do that and make that offset. See how it says offset Y? 1.25. Good. They're close to each other, but they're still kind of connected to each other. All right, cool. Next, the screws are going to get threaded into here, but I don't want this hole getting in the way of those threads. I want it to be a little bit bigger. So we're going to flip this around to look at the bottom, and we're going to sketch on this bottom surface of that flat piece. It might rotate, it doesn't really matter. Okay, so I'm looking straight at these two holes. You're going to hit P for project, P, and I'm going to click on this circle, make sure just the circle is highlighted, and I'm going to click on that circle, make sure they're highlighted, and then click OK. And you should see some little purple dots show up. Okay, all right. Now we're going to expand these holes a little bit by clicking on circle, click on that middle point and bring your circle out. And we're going to make this 0.14. Enter. Okay, see how it's making it just a little bit bigger? Same thing over here. Actually, you know what? I'm going to change my mind and fix that. I'm going to double click on that dimension itself. Let's make it 0.145. 0.145. There we go. That's a little bit better. Let's do the same thing on the other one. Draw a circle. Snap to the midpoint. 0.145. Good. Finish sketch. And we are now going to extrude those two things. Okay, we're going to extrude, zoom in, because we're going to extrude that little donut and that little donut, but we're going to turn it around and go the other way so that it says cut right here, and we're going to go through all of it. Okay, we're changing our extent type to all, and we're cutting. Make sure both things are being cut. Okay. Cool. So now those holes are a little bit bigger so that the threads of the screw will bypass that. All right, cool. Looks good. All right, folks, we're about ready to 3D print this dude, but we've got one more step because these are two separate bodies right now. And I want them to be connected together because I can't 3D print just one body. So get it around to where you can see this and click on your view cube to make yourself flat. If it rotates the wrong way, you can use these little rotate buttons. All right. And what we're going to do is we're going to draw one simple rectangle across here. So I'm going to sketch on, it doesn't matter which surface. We're going to sketch on one of those surfaces. Let's pan this whole thing so I can see what I'm doing. And I'm going to make a rectangle, a very simple rectangle. Now, it doesn't even matter where you start or where you are. This is just going to connect the two pieces together, and we're going to break this little piece out. Okay. So what I'm going to do is, as I'm hovering, notice that it gives me, I can tab, 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 tab back and forth. I'm going to make that little skinny part 0.03. Okay. Tab to the other side, and it doesn't even matter how long it is. You can just keep it that way as long as it goes through both parts like this, from one to the other. All right. But it's 0.3 in width. Now we're going to finish sketch, and we're going to extrude that part, and we've got to make sure we go the right way. So we're going to extrude. We're going to choose this rectangle, the whole thing. We're going to go the other way. Now, it probably wants to cut, but we don't want to cut. We want to join, okay? And we want to go a distance of, now notice it's negative 0.03. So it's a little 0.03 by 0.03 little square. And okay. Now, it's showing a little bit of a rectangle right there, but it doesn't matter. It's okay because it's joining this, but it's not joining that. That's still a separate body. All right, we're going to move this whole thing around, okay? Again, if it didn't work out right, undo and try again. And now we're going to join the two bodies together because notice we have these two things. We have this component and that component, and we need them to be one to do the 3D printing. So here we go. Let's go ahead and hit combine bodies, okay? And choose one as your target body. It doesn't really matter what we're doing. We're going to click one of them, and then notice now it's switched to select a tool body, which is the other one, okay? And we're joining those together, and we're going to click OK. Okay. And now what should happen is if you now look over here in bodies, we only have one body and the whole thing highlights. And that means that we are ready to 3D print. And here is how to give me the file for 3D printing. Once you're done and you've got your little tab piece and all that, you're going to come up here to Utilities, okay, and Make, and a window will pop up, okay. We are going to turn your format from STL, make it 3MF. Your selection, what you're going to click on is this one body, okay. So notice we have one selected. That's good. It should be in unit type of inches. Refinement is medium. Please don't change that. And then you are going to uncheck Send to 3D Print Utility. Now, when you click OK, it's going to ask you to save a file. So you're going to click OK, and it's going to save this up. Don't worry if this thing says viewable in Fusion Team. I don't know why it says that. You can still save it. You're going to change your name to, okay, here's what is important. So you're going to change your name to your class period, followed by your last name and first initial, followed by the color that you want. Here are your color choices, okay? Black, white, red, blue, green, orange, silver, yellow, pink, or if you don't care, put DC. Like here's an example of that. So here's 5th period, name of the person, last name, first initial, DC means don't care. So you're going to save that file, okay? Now, when you do this, you're going to, when it says save to your computer, make sure you know where you're saving it to. Right now, it's going into the downloads folder, okay? So you need to know where it is because you are going to then move that from that folder where you saved it into the folder that I gave you a link to on the assignment. All right, folks, we will have more to do with this, making wheels and all sorts of other stuff. Good job, folks. See you next time.